Welcome everybody back at Vale Sound. Sunday? Second interview? Yes, of course. I'm gonna when two post-rock legends, two legendary bands, one from the US, Rangers, and one from Australia, released two wonderful records 3 days apart. How could we here say no to a doubleheader? So we've already heard our talk with CJ from Rangers, and here we have Matt from We Lost the Sea, who is still having problems fixing
There we
or
go.
bringing his. Oh, the cable is wonderful. We have to say this is the second time we're trying this, and I quote the gentleman: "We have to do it because of the dodgy Australian internet."
I'm so sorry. Yeah, I blame the internet. I blame previous horrendous government policy. Anyway, now we're on phone. All right, we're good.
Yes,
Yeah,
we
my
are.
internet completely just shut down as soon as we started talking. So here we are on the phone. Excellent technology. Let's get to it.
So, Matt, first thing that we always ask is the plug of the day. Which band or project would you like to plug? I'll give you a second to think about it while I plug something. An Australian band that I rediscovered a few weeks ago, Non-Intentional Life Form. I think they were from Melbourne.
Whoa. That's a throwback. That takes me straight back to the late 90s.
Yes, exactly.
Sure.
Roadrunner
Wow.
Records.
Yeah, they did have on the road. Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
that's
they
when
did.
Roadrunner was like good. Yeah.
Yeah. And if anybody wants to know, it's like a very art version of post-hardcore, I would say. It was a very, very good band, and they had this amazing singer called Declan de Barra, who then went on to form Clan Zoo and became one of the showrunners for The Witcher.
You, sir, have done your research. Is this Australian? Yeah, see, look, Australia produces great talent, and then they move overseas, and then because that's where the
big money lies.
Environment for creatives is. Anyway, you'll get me started on another rant. We haven't even started, but yes, okay, cool. That's that. I haven't heard that band name. Did they have a song called 6 O'clock Headshot? Is that one of their songs?
I think they did, yes.
Otherwise, I'm getting it mixed up with another band. But yeah, anyway, cool.
So, which band would you pluck?
Look, man, I'm gonna have to. You gotta be loyal to your real ones. No, I'm gonna have to shout out Solkiri because we love those dudes. We've toured with those dudes. They released a really lovely left field project, sort of dreamy kind of strings kind of thing release that is really beautiful. And then they're about to release a new record. So massive props to the Solkiri boys. Yeah, Western Sydney, what's up? No,
and as I like to start with some kind of a left field question, Matt, what does Bad Religion's record Suffer and most American sitcoms have in common compared to your new record?
What?
I'll give you the answer. Sitcom episodes and Suffer from Both Religion are both shorter than one of the tracks on your record.
Yeah, okay.
We'll come to that one in a moment. But of course, one thing that we have to talk about is the long stretch between Triumph and Disaster, which came out in 2019, and the new record. It's probably not all just down to COVID, right?
No. We Lost the Sea takes forever to do anything. This process in general was very measured. So it felt, and like a pandemic aside, we still got together in critical moments in between spaces that we could. Yeah. And we did really, really good work and a lot of it in a short burst of time. And I think that lockdown, staying at home, sitting in your own head for too long, or actually like having time to practice and play and experiment with stuff, actually meant that when we came into the studio in 2020 to start writing this new record, it all came in as a rush. So that was really good. And then it was sort of staggered from there, and it was stop, start, stop, start. We lost a drummer and gained a drummer. And then pace started to pick up, and then, now we're here. So obviously a 27-minute song takes a fucking long time to write. So we that took months, and years, I guess, really. But now we're here.
It's interesting that you say writing a 27-minute song. I mean, like, I'm very sure we both can agree on the fact that you never wanted to write a 27-minute song.
Well,
but
depends
how did you then know, okay, now it's finished, now it's done, now it's what it needs to be?
Yeah, that's a good question, and that's the one that I think we felt that a lot more with this record, with all the songs and with the record itself. I think we always defined it as when if we were playing a song and it's coming together and we've played it for a long time and it's one of those passes where you're like, maybe this could be the pass. Maybe this is the pass where we stamp it. And it's usually unanimous when we get to the end of a take, and we all sort of stand around and sort of look at each other like stunned fish. We kind of go, it needs something else. But there's that time where we sort of like get to a big fun riff, because you forget that it's meant to be fun sometimes. A lot of the time, actually, you take it so fucking seriously that you actually stop yourself from having fun. So when you actually write a sick riff, and then everyone sort of stands up one by one, and then sort of plants the feet as if we're like ready to play the riff on stage. And then we get to the bit in the song and everyone's playing the riff, and we're sort of going, okay. And we finish and someone will go, well, that feels fucking sick, or something like that. And we go, yeah, all right. And then it's that eureka moment that you've been digging at the coal face for 5 years, I got the black lung pop. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah. But it's interesting because you say like, it sounds as if you're still figuring out whether these songs are done. So let's get to Blood Will Have Blood. Can we expect this to turn into a Santana-like 60-minute rendition of Inagada da Vida, or maybe shorter than before?
What do you mean? Did it exist in a different form?
Well, I mean, like, every live version is a little different from the original, right?
Well, no, we're not an improv band. I'd like to, when someone's busted something and they have to fix it on stage, then people can like play ambient shit on loop for a little while, dig into some kind of like, I'll play that end loop that we played once before on this one song that we've never played live or whatever, and they can kind of cover it up. But like, no, when it comes to that, things are locked in. That song is locked. It doesn't. You can't move within that. It's already been worked out. We've spent so much time working it out, and my cries of sometimes like less is more, like just fall into a void in the rehearsal room. People are like, no, more is more.
Yeah.
On top of other things.
Yeah. Blame it on the others.
Like,
yeah.
Like, nah. I mean, yeah, they all know that I like it too, but it's just like sometimes I think there's also a perspective moment with our stuff, and I'm assuming that every musician has a version of this. Every artist, it's that point that you reach where you're far enough away from it, because you can't. It's kind of like going past a black hole. You kind of like reach that event horizon, and you see it, and you're like it's all encompassing, and then months pass, and then you come out on the other side and you're like, oh, now I can see this objectively. And it also changes again when you play it live, which we were fortunate enough to do a couple of shows last year to test it out. And that it was our most accomplished song of the record at the time, and we were most comfortable with playing it. But when we played it live, I think we changed a couple of little bits and pieces, just final touches, and then it realizes itself when you're on stage playing it. It becomes the next thing. So, and that's when you get used to it, you live in it for a while, then you have a different relationship with it. So, yeah, and the song, the more I listen to it, the more I rehearse it, and the more I play it at home, the more it becomes just like sort of I'm used to it. The lengths don't feel so daunting, but like that's just because me. I don't know post rock fans love that, but still, objectively, it's a really fucking long song and probably too long in parts. Honestly, like it probably has. Like I love it, and people have already been feeding back that they love it, and that's great. And it's honestly like the world ender. It's a great finishing track, but like I'm like maybe we can play this bit for like no, shut up. I'm like okay, all right. I've pled my case. I've been shut down. More is more. Off we go.
Does the track at some point ever feel like a meditation to you? Because that's what it turned into for me. Listening to it for several times, at one point it turned into, okay, let's forget about time. This is it for the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't. When I was recording it, and I remember intentionally thinking, you can't just like run through this as a take, just as you just like, as a functional thing. You have to really feel it.
Yeah,
and that's when you get the dynamics right, but that's when you're playing it, when you're recording it, when you're tracking it. You're paying attention to every single note that you're playing, as well as trying to give it emotion. So it's actually kind of challenging sometimes not to be mechanical about it, or not to rush it, not to be frustrated. But live, I think maybe we're so used to playing long songs, it's sort of like we say to each other, we'll see you on the other side, especially when we play Challenger. Well, like the whole set really, like we've got over like almost, like a 95-minute set to play in the US. Mm-hmm. And it's long, and halfway through I need to piss. So sometimes, but like I get into my flow and I get into that meditative state, and it is totally like that. Like if you hit that flow and it's like everyone's vibing on it and stuff, it's totally, it does like, and then you go, oh shit, where am I? And you kind of look around frantically, like I've forgotten what 68 bars I'm meant to be doing at this point. So yeah.
Does it, or generally, do some of the tracks that you have been playing for a long time, do they turn into muscle memory? Because you've always had longer tracks, but like.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you play them enough, we always get like tour fit after a few shows, and then we can rely on muscle memory. But the old stuff, it always comes back eventually. Yeah, some of it needs rehearsal, but most of it comes back.
What is very interesting when we compare the beginning of the opening track, If They Had Hearts, and we compare it with the beginning of Blood Will Have Blood. So the first and the last. It sounds not as if it's two different bands, but as if it's two very distinctively different moods. If They Had Hearts start very grungy, very dark. And then we have Blood Will Have Blood, and the beginning of it is definitely, to me, more uplifting than the opener. Is that part of the voyage that you wanted to go through on the record?
Yes. Yes. Do you have you don't have a physical copy, or haven't seen the artwork for the
I have seen the artwork, yes, but I haven't looked it up while I was listening to the tracks. No, please.
No, like I mean in the actual booklet from. Do you have
no,
any
no,
like
no.
media?
I've only seen the mock-ups.
No, cool. Yeah, it becomes more apparent when you sort of read all the stuff that we put in the book and all the artwork and stuff. That'll give you the extra, depth to the story and stuff. So We Lost the Sea thing is it's just we try to write journeys, I suppose. We want to go on one, or we've been on one, or we've read about them, or we've osmosised all of this like tension and detritus, mental detritus that is going on at the moment, and spit it out through the music. But we want to go somewhere with it, and we want to take people on this journey. And yes, it's long, and you've got to give it time, and you've got to live with it for a little while. But then the artwork that I do after all the music's done, and it becomes that extension even further. So the story is not a linear one, but it definitely is meant to be quite oppressive and represent some feelings and, themes, emotional, geopolitical, social, everything that's happening right now, sort of been translated through this art that we've made and referencing other people's art and making our own and mishmashing it together and creating this sort of little vignettes that you can sort of live in, and it forms this overall narrative. And there's a point on the record that, I'll test you on this. There's a point in the record where it changes and everything feels like it's beautiful and lovely, and then it doesn't do that anymore, and it goes away.
Yeah,
and I think that's that point where we sort of, the beginning of Blood is lulling. It's that lust and lulling into something that's safe and nice.
Yeah,
and then
it takes you again somewhere else.
Yeah. I likened it to a little bird that lands in your hand, and you think that it's beautiful, and it makes a beautiful noise, and then you crush it in your hand like that. Yeah, just because I'm pretty fucked up.
You've mentioned this record, or in general your art, to be a reflection on also the state of affairs. Would you go so far as to say that this is in a way another political record?
Did you say another political record?
Did you say that it is a political record per se? Let's put it like that.
No one has asked me that before. That's an interesting question, and it's a direct phrasing, and it's probably warrants a yes or a no answer. And
no, it doesn't. You decide which answer you want to give.
Yeah, I know, but I like the directness of it, and individually, I think that we all are passionate about certain things, and we all are very empathetic towards atrocities that are happening currently. And I don't want to speak for everybody, and I don't want to put political labels on our band at all. I think that we individually have values that inevitably rub off on our output, and I think there was, and also the input. Everything that we're sucking in from whether it's like literature and fiction and TV and brain rot and everything, whatever your escapism is, or if it's, constant barrage of just the ticker tape news. Yeah, I think that there are definitely, I'm beating around the bush. Yeah, it's got political undertones for sure, this record. Yeah.
I'll explain myself why, because I'm like with a lot of music, there's always this question of, okay, is it more introverted? Is it more extroverted? Is it more political? Is it more personal? Art is always personal in a way, but there were moments when I felt, okay, here we have something very, very beautiful. And as you just said, next moment, reality kicks in and the beauty is robbed away from us. And so that was my idea behind it. And is that only because of the experience of the pandemic, or is there more? I mean, like, you've written this in not only during the pandemic, you've also written it after. So it's not just a pandemic record, isn't it?
No, we wrote one of those before it happened. Well, like an apocalyptic one at least. So,
Yeah.
I mean, the themes don't shift too far around around the basket. They're all very part of the same world. This, like, you know what, man? I think that what we were, I feel like tongue tied because when is this article going to be published?
2 days after the release.
2 days
Remember,
after release.
you release on Friday, and 2 days later we will publish this interview.
Because I want to say a whole heap of shit that I believe, but
Okay.
I'll be real with you, man. I've been reading a lot of, you know, news as well as, you know, chatting to people that have been over to the States recently, and people are getting a hard time at the border for saying shit, and I fucking hate censorship. But my nightmare is that someone's gonna read this and be like, "You said this on the internet, and you're gonna come over here and have this fucking really tough conversation." And I'll be like, "The whole tour is riding on me right now to like not fuck up and say something stupid because I do not trust what I'm going into would be 100% crystal clear on certain things." So the record has political undertones, and it's kind of obvious when you see the art and you see the extended art. You personally will know, and our fans who are kind of cluey like that will figure it out. But we didn't want it to be so overt that it was like Godspeed, where it's like, this is fucked and you're all fucked kind of thing. It's kind of like, here's our empathetic response to something that we think is absolutely horrendous, and we feel restricted by literally things that we can and can't say. And maybe I'm being a coward. I'm just being protective of like my investment of touring overseas. That maybe offline we can have another chat about it. But yes, you'll see in the art, and it'll become apparent.
It's very interesting. I mean, like, that is the only statement that I will give to it. It's very interesting that nowadays bands have to be careful of what they say if they want to tour the US, which of course people want to do because it's a cool country to be. It's a uh, cool crowd to play to. Some amazing fests. You're playing Post.Fest, and so it's like really, really cool.
Man, I've been
and
there.
That is part of the worst fucked up situation that I've ever been to. That you have to be careful what to say if you want to come into a different country. That's the only thing that I'm gonna say.
I know, and it's fucking awful. And my upbringing, my Rage Against the Machine posters in my wall when I was a 16-year-old kid are now like very angry at me. Do you know what I mean?
I know.
So, but values change. Not values don't change, but that was a Freudian
difficulties.
Slip. I will, yeah.
Difficulties, right?
But no, values do change. But
yeah.
The core values of things that you believe in, you know, and actual empathy, justice, fairness, all of these things, they don't go away. I think the parameters and the way that you have to control them and you have to fit into things, they shift. But yeah, anyway, I've been to the States 3 times before. I've had the best time over there. Like, I'm really, really looking forward to touring over there. That's what I wanted to do since I was a 16-year-old kid playing in fucking hardcore bands or whatever. So it's kind of like it's a massive bucket list thing for us, and I don't want to fuck it up. So, but yeah, man, like, there's a lot of passion went into this record, as it always does. But I think that when we're an instrumental band that overthinks like we do, that you put, and we don't have vocals and we don't have lyrics. We write, poetic things, and we dance around topics and stuff like that. But it's in the music where we give all of that shit back. So
it's interesting that you say, whereas you put so much effort into it. That only shows because if I looked it up correctly, there are only 2 members of We Lost the Sea who, apart from We Lost the Sea, have other bands. Is that correct? I think 2.
Yeah, so Carl plays in Low and has done for forever and longer than he's been in We Lost the Sea. And I think our new drummer Al plays in like he's almost like a freelance drummer, and he has his own other side hustles and stuff. So, but his main gig is us. But no, I used to play in a band with Carl and our old drummer Dugo way back in the day. Mark's played in a bunch of bands. Everyone's sort of dabbled around, but we
But
don't
at
have
the
time for more
moment,
than
it's
one
only
band.
We Lost the Sea. And here comes my
Yeah, we don't have
question.
time. We don't have time.
Exactly. that is what I wanted to do. How often do you guys to get together? How, like, once a week, once a month? Not at all.
Well, it's most of the time not at all, actually. Like when we've got a tour coming up, we'll book in fortnightly. Sometimes it'll be once a week for 3 weeks, and then we'll have a couple of weeks off, a break off, and then we'll come back at it. And yeah, so not as much as you'd think, not as much as we should, but as much as we can. So, you know, because it's so busy, everyone's got different lives and kids and jobs, and yeah, man, we're running a full-time professional band in our spare time. So yeah, it's a lot.
Then how does the songwriting go? Is it a democratic
That's why it
process?
takes 5 years.
Okay, but that also means that there is not one mastermind behind it, right? Everybody brings his stuff.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, We Lost the Sea are the best when we're all in the studio together writing and playing the stuff. The genesis always comes from probably Mark or I. Me and Mark write most of the original, and mind you, there might be like 4 bars, and then that song turns into Blood Will Have Blood. So I'm not even kidding. The seat, and that's why it takes 5 years. But in a lot of the cases, and especially with the big long journey songs,
yeah,
there's a point where Mark and I will like ram our riffs together. Blood is a true example of that. And when we build the riff that it smashes into, like at the triumphant bit of the first section, is just like I'm like, I've got this riff, and Mark's like, I've got this riff, and we just go bang, let's put those together. And sometimes it's fucking awful, but sometimes it works. But it's a full band effort all of the time. Yeah, like it's this record was the most collaborative that we've done, and it felt good. Everyone was happier in themselves for the most part. We could be we could be depressing as fuck sometimes, but I think most of us are pretty good at the moment. But together, I think we felt better, and it comes. You can hear it. It just sounds like that. We were in a better place. Yeah.
You've already spoken about influences, or you've hinted at influences, musical wise, literature, different art forms, movies. Is there anything in particular that influenced the new record?
Well, again, that will be answered when you see the extended artwork from the vinyl or the CD. We sort of leant back on an old trope of doing a piece of art per song. I was sort of felt more comfortable in a graphic space because I do all the art, and I think I was trying to punch above my skill level last time, and sort of landed somewhere that I was quite happy with, but I feel like it was a little bit more of an experiment rather than a cohesive idea. And this was a bit more like, because thematically it's very much, here's this raw thing that we're going to present, and like I was like, it's going to be black and white and maybe red, and I'm like, that's the restriction, that's where it is. But so a lot of this was influenced directly by sort of mid-century writers, like fine artists, a mix of in between, and we sort of, Mark was devouring tons of audiobooks every week, and and I was like getting into my art mind. I was just diving through all of these art websites and reading up all on shit that I've never heard about. specifically for me, I was really inspired by Francesco Goya's black paintings. And I remember seeing them at Prado in Madrid another lifetime ago and just being fully like, and his other work, not just the black paintings, but just being fully oppressed by his art. There's this, I don't know if it's there anymore because they've probably changed the curation, but it might still be, as it was like so powerful. They've got this, I don't know if you've ever been to the Prado Museum in
Not yet,
Madrid. I'm not sure if you. No, I'm not. Amazing, but it's so long ago. But this one thing I do remember that stuck with me was the final corridor that you walk before you hit the exit of the gift shop. It's just this corridor of like black, like oil paintings, like a lot of Goya, a lot of the other Spanish, but it's just like Renaissance twisted horses and like these gothic-y, and everything's like fucking like black brushstrokes like this. And you get out of it and you're like drained, you're like, fuck, that was depressing. Like that actually made me feel something. I had a physical reaction to that corridor of art. And when we started to get on this theme, and, you know, we also see can get negative very quickly. Someone described us as music for negative, intelligent people, and I thought that was pretty hilarious. But when we jumped onto this theme, it felt natural to be like really dooming. So you've got to inject this beauty in it, and I think this is where the sort of literature and art gave us this loose framework to be inspired by something that has translated it before in their way, but it's sort of, we stitched it together to sort of leverage what we were doing and write music to those things. Yeah. And we sort of soundtracked the story that we had stitched together from all of these influences to try and tell the story that we were trying to tell in a very abstract way. It was very conceptual, and it took me fucking ages to work out what to do artistically, but got there. Yeah.
I have two more questions before we come to the infamous quickfire round at the end. The first one is, this is another brilliant record by your band. You've already had major success with two somewhat known records, Triumph and Disaster and Departure Song. People in the post-rock community might have heard of them.
Yeah.
Have you ever, at this point, before releasing this record or while writing this record, have you ever felt any kind of pressure?
Yes, absolutely. Triumph and Disaster was a pressure cooker, and of no fault but our own. And I think we were just inexperienced. I think we were stressed. We were rushing. We didn't know how to pace ourselves. I was being very specific about what the theme should be early on, and which dictated how the writing or the sound that it had to go with. And it was very like, this is the end of the world, so well, I'm writing something that's quite beautiful. And I think we sort of stopped ourselves and went, well, you can't write beautiful things at the end of the world, which we ended up doing anyway. But yeah, long story short, someone said to me once that fans don't want to always know about the trials and tribulations of how something came about. Because they enjoy it from the fresh point of zero. And I respect that, but I think that the context of the pressure that we had after Departure Songs, because we were like, by the time 2017 rolled around and we went to Europe for the first time, we realized how important that record was to everybody. And then I think we just took that back.
It still is so important to everybody.
And still is. And we had no idea. And it just blew us away. And so we went into Triumph stage with like, oh, holy crap, like, oh, and everyone's like, we post up photos on socials and like, oh, we're writing a new album. People are, I hope it's Departure Songs too.
Yeah.
I hope it's Gallant Gentlemen. And I'm like, okay, guys, cool, no worries. And we're like, we're never going to write Departure Songs too. It's actually why we opened Triumph with Towers. Towers is a big sort of, not fuck you, but it's shaking off these it was like tired old grieving clothes that once we played Departure songs every show for, dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of shows over years, it kind of felt like we just needed to shake that off, like that. And we started playing the songs live. We lost all of that pressure and just enjoyed Triumph for what it was, and had the best time just putting a foot on a foldback and playing a riff and not being this demure band. I think we actually shocked people when we first started playing, because we would we'd come out like a rock band, like we wanted to stand out and play this album that they'd cried to, that people had not killed themselves to, or that played at funerals or whatever. They expected us to probably perform it differently, and I think some of the expressions on the faces when we first started playing, I remember, were, "Oh, these guys are like, this is different live. This isn't four people standing in shadows going gling 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 gling."
No?
So yeah,
it's more of a metal band than an indie rock band, isn't it?
Yeah, I would say. Yeah, or old metalheads.
Last question, and that is, again, I looked up at other post-metal, post-rock bands with long tracks, and I stumbled across one of my favorites, Post.Festival from Italy. And they also, in their time as a band, recorded 2 cover tracks. They covered Massive Attack's Angel, and they covered Radiohead's Climbing Up the Walls. If you could choose a track to cover with We Lost the Sea, which one would you choose?
And
I do not want to hear let's cover Bell Witch's Mirror Reaper.
No. I think probably Al's probably the only one who listens to Bell Witch in this band. But fuck no, honestly, we were at some point. It's now become a sort of parody of itself because we're not going to do it. We were going to cover Massive Attack's Angel at one point. I even started working on it in Logic and trying to like break it down to transpose it into sort of like a We Lost the Sea version with lots of guitars and stuff. And we talked about it for ages. This was years ago, and then at one point we just were like, I think Kieran started playing the bass line because it's in B, the low B, and he's got a 5-string bass, so it's like in the right register, so it sounds really good. And he starts playing it. We just sort of start middling around with it, and then we just sort of stop and go, "Nah, that's terrible. It's a perfect song. Do not ruin it. Let's not try and do that." And like literally everybody's covered it. So honestly, you'd have to ask one of the guys. We sort of stopped talking about it because someone was suggesting that we should cover like hip hop songs, or I suggested we should cover like Brown Paper Bag by Ronnie Size, simply just because I'm a massive drum and bass fan. But like just something really, really odd and really different, because like when Refused released that covers record, my favorite song on that record, probably because I'm biased, is The Coals of Loon. Epic thing. And it's like, yeah, it starts off with the origin of what the song used to be, but it's like, and all the rest are like they do semi-decent covers the rest of the record, but it's like they're all sort of playing the same tempo, doing same things as the originals, which is fine. This is how I would do a cover, because at this they just play to their strengths. It's just like, we're a post-metal band, let's post-metal the fuck out of it. So that's what we do. I don't know what track it'd be though. Yeah, many.
And if it were to be Massive Attack, then I would say Inertia Creeps is more fitting. Has a lot more crunch.
Well, we all love, Inertia Creeps is a good one. I mean, we love Heligoland like as a whole. But I mean, yeah, I don't know. Huge fan. Talk about Massive Attack all night. Voodoo in the Blood would be a good.
So, Matt, first of all, thanks for the insight into the record. But of course, you also have to go through the infamous quickfire round at the end. I looked up a few things, some special, some not. So I first give you two bands that both have three guitar players, and you have to choose which one you like more. Bad Religion versus Iron Maiden.
Does Bad Religion have three guitarists?
Live they do.
Okay. I'm going to have to go Iron Maiden.
Mm-hmm. And I've, of course, also looked up long post-rock tracks, and I came up with two that I'd like to give you. Swans, The Seer, 32 minutes, 14 seconds, versus Mogwai's My Father, My King, 20 minutes, 14 seconds.
Oh, yeah. Mogwai, no doubt. Mogwai, without a doubt. Yeah.
I also
even though I do like the Seer, actually. That's the is that the one that's dun 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 for like 4 hours? I can't remember.
I think
I can't actually. I'm gonna switch. I'm gonna switch to Swans. I'm gonna switch to Swans.
And then I thought, if we already talked to an Australian guy who loves metal, let's go a little bit east. Let's talk about New Zealand bands. Jacob versus Ulcerate.
Well, I'm going to have to shout out to the Jacob guys because we played with them in 2014 on a couple of shows. So they were cool and fucking loud. Yeah, massive sound. So yeah, Jacob for sure.
And then I'll give you two Rage Against the Machine albums, and you have to choose between Evil Empire and the self-titled one.
Evil Empire, hands down. That's their best record. I'm a huge fan from back in when I was like 15.
It's interesting. I still remember, I mean, like, of course, I grew up with the self-titled record. I remember seeing them open for Suicidal Tendencies on their first European tour. But I still say musically, Evil Empire is the more interesting record. Don't know why.
Yeah, hands down. I mean, I'll try and paraphrase this, otherwise we'll be here all night. But yeah, the first record is obviously groundbreaking and it sounds amazing. Production is unreal. But I just the rawness of that second record and the way it sounds and yeah, that's my go-to. I just like that's just banger after banger. And yeah, I was actually disappointed when Battle for LA came out. I was like, oh, this sounds a bit too poppy. This just sounds like a pop record.
Yeah.
Like it took me ages to get into it because I was expecting more like, you know, roll right, like all of that shit. Like that was my jam, man. Yeah.
As we're talking about drum and bass, I'll give you two of my favorite drum and bass artists: Ronnie Size versus LTJ Buchan.
Oh, I like both of them. I've seen both of them in Sydney, and I'm going to have to go with Ronnie Size simply because I enjoyed his set more. It was heaps of fun, and I did the really high drunken thing when he went to take a break or something. And I was like, "Hey, Ronnie, good." Like I was like, so I shook his hand. He's a good dude.
Did you ever wash it afterwards?
Yes. Yeah. I was like, yeah. I had a couple of beers by that point.
The last one, and also, of course, in reference to what we were talking about, Massive Attack. I'll give you two of their records: Unfinished Lines versus Mezzanine.
Unfinished Lines I'm not that familiar with, so it's going to be Mezzanine for sure. Yeah.
It's one of those few bands who were able to, in a way, I think, completely transform themselves and come up with a very, very different sound and still be relevant and interesting. So I would also go with Mezzanine. Although Unfinished Lines, to me, has their best track ever, and that's Hymn of the Big Wheel.
And it's, what is it? Sorry?
Hymn of the Big Wheel. Okay. The one where Nanny Cherry is still singing.
Is that, it's very early on, right?
Yeah, I think it's their debut.
And then there's Blue Lines, right? Or is that a remix album?
Oh, not Unfinished Lines. Blue Lines. I meant Blue Lines. Would you choose Blue Lines or Mezzanine? Still Mezzanine?
Mezzanine. I'd actually choose Heligoland.
Yeah, you've already said
They
that.
need to release a new record. It's been like 10 years, so longer. So
Well, somebody who just took 6 years to release a new record shouldn't.
oh man, no, it's been 12 years for them or something. Come on.
Yes, it's very, 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 very long.
He's he's too busy off being Banksy in another life.
I wish he was.
Yeah, I know.
Or I wish he would like to be. So
yeah.
Matt, I hope you're gonna enjoy tour in America if you ever get into the country. For everybody,
if you can delay the publication of this until like the
15th
of July.
No. But anyway, 2 days ago, this fine gentleman here released another amazing record with his band, We Lost the Sea. If you haven't listened to it yet, please enjoy a single flower. Great release, available in basically every continent, I think, through a lot of different labels. Shout out to our friends in Dunk. And Matt, thanks for all your time and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you very much. Great questions. Great chat. Chat to you soon.